Utah has had health at quarterback so far this year, Josh, but they did get a devastating injury with Rabbit Evans, the safety who I thought was going to have a breakout year. He had some moments against Iowa State last year in a couple games where I was just like, he's going to be that next safety that pops. Like, we already know Teo's a really good player. He's one of the best safeties in the Big 12, maybe even
Mhm.
college football if he can continue to clean up his tackling, which has been stronger since the UCLA game so far. But Rabbit Evans getting hurt it just really hurts this Utah defense because he is
Yeah.
so sharp. But I will say, Jackson Benny, Nate Ritchie, they've done a good job. I think Utah, I don't know if this defense has the same ceiling it did with Rabbit healthy there, but to me,
Mhm.
they can still be a really good defense because I don't know of many teams that have a safety depth like a guy like Nate Ritchie who's played so much ball, or Jackson Benny, who's the guy who kept the six streak alive and has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun flying around. So I feel like Utah, I trust the bodies to step up there, but I hate it for Rabbit so much.
Yeah, same man. It's always a bummer whenever, starters or anybody gets injured because we love to see them play. We love to see them make plays and whatnot. But, as per usual, it's always next man up. And like you said, I believe Utah possesses the depth in
Mm-hmm.
order to still be a really, really good defense and to still be able to compete with a lot of these teams that they have ahead of their schedule. It'll just be a matter of consistent play from these guys that have to step up. They have to understand that consistency is a huge thing in being in a great defense. You know what I mean? So if they can understand that and they can implement that and they can keep that going in their game, Utah will be just fine.
What have you thought? We're going to talk about Darren Zipper's injury on the wide offensive side in the moment. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on this Utah defense 3 games into the season? Do you think this is just another Utah elite defense? Do you think that this is a group that has tremendous potential for being elite all year? How do you view them?
I think this Utah defense this year is a product of everybody buying in. I've talked to the coaches, here and there, throughout the course of the summertime and whatnot, but before the season and whatnot. So I think this defense is actually bought in, and you can
Mhm.
see like by the score of each the past 3 games, you can see that they're bought in. They understand them. They understand the coverages. They understand what their assignments are. And when you have a defense like that, when everybody knows what everybody's responsibility is, and they're all firing on all cylinders, and they're communicating well, it's just a normal day in a Morgan Scalley defense, man. They're just hard to stop, man. That's just what Utah's defense has always been built and bred on. And this year, it's just another year of being a product of that bread and butter that Morgan Scalley has always produced.
And he's a fantastic defensive coordinator, and
Mhm.
Josh as well too. How Morgan loves to blitz, but how much of a luxury is it when he has that to pair with an elite pass rusher? You guys back in 2019, right? You had Bradley and Nye. A
Yeah,
couple years ago,
yeah.
Utah had Jonah Ellis. This year, it looks like they have John Henry Daly. What difference does that make this Utah defense when they have that guy, or I should just say, the mayor of Sac Lake City?
It makes a huge difference, man, because you when you have such confidence in your defensive line like that, like I know for me with Bradley and Lucky Fotu and those guys like that, were for me, we understood like, okay, you're not gonna really have to necessarily cover long, so you do your job, you know for sure that they're gonna handle theirs. So just having that confidence in each other as a unit is huge, and it leads to big plays. It leads to big plays early in the game, in the middle of the game, and at the end of the game, or in important moments. So that that right there is a beautiful thing to have in a defense. If you can combine a good pass rush with a good secondary, it's almost that's the reason why Utah is top 10. Every
Mhm.
single year. It's just if you can have those two consistent things, you're almost impossible to beat. Quite honestly.
Yeah, and that's the hope on Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, so Baron Morton, a very accurate quarterback. Yes, under duress at times he will turn it over, but he is a very strong quarterback, one of the best the Big 12 has to offer. How do you? I feel like Utah, they run a lot of man a lot, but sometimes they blitz so much they really leave. I mean, there's just those guys are out there on an island on
Hmm.
the outside, and there's some really talented players on the outside here as well. Baron Morton too is the guy who's type of guy who's capable of making the throw to beat the
Hmm.
really good coverage. That's what I'm just
Right.
curious. How do you think Morgan Scalley is going to handle this? Is he going to drop two safeties a lot? Do you think he's just going to have one back there and want to ramp up the pressure because Morton doesn't do as well under pressure? But if Texas Tech does get it blocked up, then Utah could get a big play hit on them with the Red Raiders making a big gain. How do you anticipate Morgan Scalley's going to handle this?
I anticipate him coming out, honestly sticking to the plan, sticking to the
Mm-hmm.
plan and then adjusting off of that plan based off of what the quarterback does. I believe that, like you said, we run a lot of man and we run a lot of man pressures and blitzes off of that. So obviously that, in order for Morgan to do that, he has to trust you. He has to be able to
Mhm.
trust the DBs. He has to be able to trust the safeties. He has to be able to trust that you come through and make a play, or you'll be able to hold up your end of the bargain with in coverage. And I think that should the quarterback for Texas Tech, make those throws or a play here and there, or if we give up a big play, he'll definitely adjust. But I don't think he'll change up the game plan so much as that it'll change the identity of the defense throughout the course of the game because, Morgan Scalley is always going to be Morgan Scalley. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I believe that, him, I think that's going to be his thing is to stick to what's been working and then adjust based off, what they need to, based off of what they see the quarterback do.
And that's what the best defensive coordinator, best coaches, doesn't matter the side of the ball. What adjustments
Hmm.
can you make in game?
Right.
Josh, the Utah wide receiver room is without Darren Zipper for the rest of the year. I thought Zipper was going to have a big year. I spoke to Smith Snowden at Big 12 Media Day, and he said that Zipper's going to have a monster year. So this is a loss for Utah. I will say I've been pleasantly surprised with what we've seen from the pass catching department overall for this Utah team. Right, when you have guys like Ryan Davis has stepped up, Dallin Bentley has been arguably the most surprising player on this Utah offense for me for what he's produced. I like what true freshman tight end JJ Buchanan is shown as well. And yes, Tobias Merriweather and Larry Simmons, the two spring transfer portal additions after spring ball, they have not been they have not been Utah's leading receiver in any game, right? But Merriweather is a big play threat right there. He's he's so close. And Larry Simmons had that crazy catch on Dampier where he dropped it and then made something happen. It's going
Yeah.
to hurt without Zipper. But Josh, I still feel like Utah has enough on the outside. The strength of this team will be the run game. That offensive line, Wayshawn Parker, Dampier, Rogers, that's the strength. I think they got enough on the outside and in the slot tight end area to make plays and be one of the best teams, honestly, even in college football.
Yeah, I believe so too. I will say, like in the beginning, obviously, it's the first game shooters. Everybody's getting warmed up, and they were a little inconsistent. And, as the games continue to go on, they develop that consistency and they get that confidence as a unit and one another. And I do believe, just watching them play and watching how they have started to consistently make plays throughout each game. I still believe that the receivers and the offense has another level that they can tap
Mhm.
into. Like, Dampier, and like you said, has 275 yards a game, which is awesome. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's very awesome. But some enemy still believes that they have another
Oh,
level
agreed.
that they can tap into for sure.
But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our great friends at Mazda. With Mazda, you can get moved and be moved because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. I mean, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. With more IHSS top safety picks awards than anyone else as of August 2025, you can make everyday drives feel like anything but for smooth handling and intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive, too, standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible just generally becomes irrelevant. Mazda, moved and be moved. You can check out Mazda's inventory and be moved today. That's going to do it for our show today. Hope to see you again tomorrow.